uh, there was a lot of publicity going on about this, and we did a research that covered all across the country, and we found out that schools that had kids in uniforms did better academically in school. They had more esprit de corps. They were more safe, and they didn't spend the time arguing about who has the best dress, who has the best shoes, and this sort of thing. And it was really more cost effective too, you know. But some of the parents didn't like that. They told me, said, Mr. Harper said, I don't like what you're trying to do to my son or my daughter, put them in uniforms. It says, because you want them to lose their identity. And I said, well, ma'am, I says, I spent 23 years in the United States Army wearing a uniform, you know, and that uniform allows you the opportunity and the privilege and the freedom now to say what you're saying to me, but it didn't change my identity, you know, and I think that it's good for them, and research shows that it is. But I was a sort of an independent thing, you know. It didn't bother me too much about being the lone one if I thought I was right, if it was right. And I says, you know, we do things, we make decisions for children because they don't know what's in their best interest at times. And we as parents, you know, it's our duty to make those decisions for them. And so therefore we are compelled to do these things. But, you know, I take the criticism. I've been ostracized and criticized and I guess segregated against and all this kind of stuff. But some of my fellow board members didn't want to endure the criticism of the parents, and so they did not support a policy. So we instituted it on a voluntary basis. And here's what happened. The first year, about 13 or 14 elementary schools implemented the policy, and 7 or 8 of the middle schools did it. And it grew a little bit each year for a few years. But many of the principals would call me and said, Mr. Harper says, I'm glad we got 8 uniforms in the schools. Says, I wish the board had made it a policy for all schools. And said we'd be much better off. But it didn't happen. I enjoyed being a mentor in elementary school. I mentored for 4 years in elementary school. And usually these kids were single parent, from home from single parents, and they need a lot of attention. But I found out that what they needed most was structure, attention and structure, you know. And on the few occasions where I could not make a 1 hour meeting a week, they would be so disappointed not being able to meet. And they just love to be, to know that people care about them, and that here's what you can do with yourself.
Did you get that at home when you were a child?
No, I didn't have mentoring at home.
But I mean, did you have someone telling you could be whatever you wanted to be?
Yes. My mother was and she only had a 3rd grade education, but she had a lot of, she called it mother wit, see? Mother wit, yeah. And she always wanted me to be a, you know, to when I said I want to be a doctor, she was really, really gung-ho about that. And so she was very, very supportive to me, you know, keep it going, you know. But her money ran out, my father's money ran out, so I had to work myself. But those are 3 things in the school division that I really have a fondness for. And I don't know what the revenue split is today, but it's probably modified a little bit since then. But the school board, school division really appreciate that change in the revenue split.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you on the board?
1 term.
1 term.
4 years.
How was race relations? Did the other white school board superintendents, did they get along with you, or did they kind of ostracize you?
No, the superintendent and I had a good relationship. I came to the board though with a pretty good background. I guess it's sometimes people call them credits, you know, being an administrator in the kind of government you know, was meant something. And a military retiree officer meant something. And so there was more, I guess, respect, if you will, and that sort of thing. So I had a real good relationship with the superintendent, Dr. Kelly. And so we could, if I have an issue, I would have to deal with issues with some of the principals.
Mm-hmm.
And I, on their behalf, I had to meet with Dr. Kelly, and we ironed, get things ironed out.
Yeah.
For the betterment of the teacher and all the principals.
Mm-hmm. So when you came to Washington from North Carolina, was it like culture shock back in the 50s and 60s? I mean, what was the contrast between them?
Well, I'm coming from a little small town in North Carolina, Goldsboro. Only thing it was known for was the insane asylum. His claim to fame was the insane asylum, you know.
Yeah.
And but you come to Howard in D.C. and all these people here, and I was valedictorian of my class. And I come here and I thought I was going to be, you know, but to come here, I'm in class and now all these kids are smart, you know. Many of them have scholarships. I didn't have a scholarship, but most of them had scholarships, you know. Yeah, and so it was an awakening. But we didn't have segregation, blatant segregation as they had it in North Carolina, in D.C. But it was here. But like I say, D.C. was you used to call it Chocolate City one time, although that's changing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it just wasn't like Carolina. So it was a big difference, a tremendous difference.
So were there signs in Washington like white only restrooms, black only, or?
Yeah.
Or you just kind of knew where?
Yeah. I started working out at Old Town Alexander. That was my first job as a waiter. And I would get tips, $2 and $3 tips, occasionally $4 or $5 tip. That was good money to me.
Mm-hmm.
back in the 50s, you know, 55, 56. That was good money, you know. But I worked at the Old Town restaurant. You know, and I'm serving they're all white. They're all white there, and I didn't. They treated me well.
Mm-hmm.
They treated me well. Yeah. It's a good restaurant. I mean, it was a restaurant, but I had no problem with
Mm-hmm.
it. You know. I left there and went to cafeteria in D.C. From that job to D.C. closer to Howard, and I worked there for about a year, and then I worked at the post office, main post office in D.C.
And you didn't have any problems there?
No, no. It was mostly it was more blacks there than whites. You know. And I was appointed there. I got a position there by the senator from North Carolina at the time.
And he was white?
He was white.
Okay.
He was white. Yeah.
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 Did your parents ever talk about having problems in voting or voting registration?
They didn't vote.
They didn't vote. Why do you think they didn't vote?
That's a good question. Probably because, well, they in the rural, you know, back in the 40s, 30s and 40s, they just didn't. It was rare, I think, for a farmer to come up and vote.
Was it fear?
I'm quite sure that was part of it. Sure, part of it. Because they were sharecroppers. Sharecroppers. So they never talked about voting to me.
Did they talk to you about how you needed to survive in a segregated world?
Not really. Not until my parents only expressed any concern about that to me was when I ran for clerk of the court. Yeah. And my mother told me, said she was glad that I lost because she was fearful of me.
Yeah.
She was fearful for me.
Yeah. Are you glad you lost?
No, I'm not glad I lost. That was the best job in the county.
And you would have made a difference.
That's right.
Sure.
I made a difference.
Yeah,
I made a difference.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always made a difference.
Yeah.
I don't say that, they should, but I made a difference. I mean, in the Army, they always sent me to the place that need clean up, Send the blacks to the worst unit for you fix it, And that's stirred my life, I always make things better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing I always taught my kids and my students is this, that I said, after it's all said and done, remember this, good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best.
I like that.
So I always leave them with that thought.
Yeah, that's a good thought to leave them with.
Yeah.
So why do you think this project, collecting testimonies from people who lived through Jim Crow and segregation, why do you think collecting these oral histories are good for the archive at the Library of Congress?
Well, it gives some first-hand accounting of what life really was, what the situation really was, not with someone's suppositions, someone's imaginations, but someone who lived it. And that's good. That's good history, and it's good to know that. It's one thing today, I don't think we know enough about our history, and we take it lightly, I guess, But I think